If you haven't already heard, ATF's pistol brace ban is here. The new rule has the potential to criminalize up to 40 million firearms as soon as it hits the Federal Register. Unfortunately, it seems that the ATF's new rule includes a serious flaw, and that should be alarming to all gun owners. This flaw could result in criminal charges for simply complying with the new regulations. Hi, I'm Ben, and this is the Minuteman Moment. SHOT Show 2023 was a busy week for all of us at GOA. From interacting with so many great people in the firearms industry to confronting the ATF about their new pistol brace rule, I'd say it was a very productive time. During the show, GOA's attorney Stephen Stamboulieh decided to walk over to the ATF booth and ask them a question about a glaring oversight he found in the new pistol brace rule.
After talking with a couple people and after finally having a chance on Monday on my long plane ride over here, I read all 300 whatever pages of the garbage rule that they produce, and I started thinking, they flipped the way that Form 1s usually work, right? So as we all know, we want to Form 1 something, like we might start with the rifle. We're like, I want to make a short barrel rifle. So you fill out all your paperwork, right? You do your fingerprints, your photographs, you pay your $200 tax, and you send it into the ATF. You don't have a short barrel rifle, right? You just have a regular rifle. So in 6 months to a year, 13 months, whatever it is, they issue you your stamp, say, hey, you're a good guy, you can make this into a short barrel rifle, and then you're like, yay, you buy your 7-inch upper, 8-inch upper, whatever it is, you put it on there.
Right, and you build it at that point.
Yeah, and you build it at that point,
right.
Exactly, after you get the stamp. So what this rule does is it kind of flips the process around because, whoa, I've got a short barrel rifle in front of me that you've now said is a short barrel rifle, right?
Right, so we're incriminating ourselves.
Okay, so there's the first problem.
Right.
So now you're going to go to the ATF and you're going to say, I believe based on your rule, this is a short barrel rifle. Here are my photographs, here are my fingerprints, here's my address, here's a picture of this device, right? And you say that in your enforcement discretion that you're not going to prosecute me while I have this pending form into the ATF.
Right.
But I'm already in possession of this thing that now is an SBR.
And I just took photographic evidence.
And sent it to you, the government.
Right.
Stephen correctly lays out the issue that many gun owners have with this new rule. The ATF says that they're in possession of an illegal SBR, even though at the time of purchase, for up to 40 million of these people, these firearms were legal braced pistols. Not only that, but the ATF is also asking for photographic evidence and identifying information that these gun owners are in possession of these items. Gun owners are expected to rely on the ATF's graciousness not to prosecute them for being in possession of these items, which ATF now considers to be illegal, unregistered SBRs. But that's not even the worst part.
So what happens if the ATF denies your stamp? A lot of people don't know that the ATF now does the background check. The FBI used to do the background check, and the FBI and the ATF had a little spat, a little lover's quarrel, where the FBI told the ATF that they're not going to do the background checks for the ATF anymore, and the ATF, you have to do the background checks yourself. So the ATF now does the background checks with the FBI. If that background check remains open for 88 days or longer, it's an automatic denial.
Correct.
Right. So now what happens when you get that back from the ATF saying that you've been disapproved? You've still got your SBR.
Right. Well, let's get into that. Let's dive into that number because 88 is huge. There are an estimated 40 million of these items in the public, right? And they've given us 120 days to comply.
Yeah.
Now, with their current level, Form 1s are taking 6 to 8 months on a good day.
Yep.
Now add maybe 40 million transactions on top of that. Basically says, hey, look, I'm breaking the law. Here's my NFA item. Here's my picture. Here's my prints.
And my address.
And my address. And the picture of my dog.
Yeah, maybe I have a dog.
88 days automatically denied because it's been open that long, and now...
Now let's be clear and expand on the notice that Jared put in his video. We're not saying that everyone will be automatically denied 88 days after they submit their paperwork, or that people will be denied before the 120-day amnesty window even closes. The 88-day clock doesn't start ticking when your registration paperwork is filed, but instead, when the ATF bureaucrat processing your application begins your background check. You can get an automatic denial for an open background check if this is not completed within 88 days. Now, while this only affects a relatively small percentage of background checks overall, it's happened over 1.1 million times between 2014 and 2019. And adding up to 40 million more registrations is only going to lead to a much higher number of open background check denials. Now, listen to what Stephen said when talking to the ATF about his concern.
Before I went to the ATF, I was talking to another guy, and I said, this is what the ATF's going to do. They're going to use this open background because they can't do it in time. and they're going to disapprove you. And then what's going to happen? They have all this nice, shiny information on a list.
Right.
And we know how much people in government love their lists.
Oh, yeah, especially the ATF.
So, right. So what are they going to do? And he was thinking, well, they're not going to do anything. And I said, wow, that's not right, because like it's the ATF. And
right.
sure, they're going to do something with their nice little new shiny list that you gave to them.
Right.
And I said, let's go talk to him. He's like, I don't want to go talk to him. So anyways, I went and go talk to him. And so I asked this guy who came to talk to me, because I guess he didn't see my GOA shirt because it had a jacket on.
It's reading.
Right. And so I was like, if I have this guy and I'm a lawyer and I need to be able to advise my clients, what happens if it's denied? And he goes, well, as long as they have their paperwork saying they registered it, we're going to deem them to be in compliance with the rule. I was like, I don't think you're understanding my question. Is there someone that knows more about this than you do? So he brought a lady to talk to me, and I said, okay, I'm a lawyer. I've got a client. He wants to register his new SBR. Let's pretend that in 88 days, I said, you know that in 88 days on an open background, it's an automatic denial.
Right.
Yes, I know that. I said, great. What happens when it's automatically denied? She goes, we'll take an enforcement action at that time.
Say that again.
We'll take an enforcement action at that time.
So, if you attempt to comply with the new regulations, and ATF does an oopsie by leaving your background check open for 88 days, it results in a denial. GOA obtained documents from an individual who was denied on an ATF Form 4 for a suppressor because of the 88-day reporting time. In the resulting denial form, it reads, your NFA application has been disapproved by the ATF based on FBI's reporting a final status of open on the required background check after 88 days and having not received information back on the final disposition of potentially prohibiting information. Now, luckily in this case, the individual in question wasn't yet in possession of the NFA item, so ATF couldn't take an enforcement action against them. But as GOA Attorney Stephen Stamboulieh found out, those looking to participate in pistol brace amnesty might not be so fortunate. That's right. After a denied application, gun owners would be in possession of an NFA firearm and subject up to 10 years in a federal prison and a $250,000 fine, at least according to the letter of the law. When Stephen asked an ATF agent at the booth what would happen after such a denial, he was informed that the ATF would take an enforcement action against such a denial. AmmoLand News reporter John Crump reached out to the ATF this past week and got a different response, offering a different interpretation using the rules supporting documents. If an application is disapproved due to the FBI not being able to provide a proceed for the background check after 88 days, the applicant can resolve issues with the FBI and resubmit their application to the ATF, even if that resubmission is after the initial 120-day period. Okay, so I guess the agent is trying to split hairs and say that an application that is denied because the background check was returned without action in question 21 is now different than a failed background check in question 23. Well, I'll tell you one thing for certain. According to federal law, you're definitely not in legal possession of the SBR you just tried to register. If you were, you'd have an approved application and a tax stamp in hand. Even if the ATF is going to exercise its enforcement discretion while you sort things out with the FBI, which GOA hopes the ATF will at least do, that is not good enough. As Stephen told the agent at SHOT Show, why isn't this in the rule? Well, even though ATF considered this scenario prior to issuing its guidance, they didn't put it in the final rule because they didn't want to commit one way or the other. If it were in the rule that they would exercise their enforcement discretion, they'd be locked in and you'd be much safer. Instead, they chose to bury this supposed protection in a non-binding, unenforceable Q&A uploaded to their website and in an email to a 2A news reporter. Want to know just how binding these Q&As really are? They're so binding that on January 25th, ATF changed the NFA e-form Q&A to say that you could not let anyone even touch or shoot your NFA firearms or suppressors unless they were on your trust, even if you were just at the range shooting together. Now that's 180 degrees from how it's always been. But then, 24 hours later, after GOA, Congress, and the community voiced their outrage, they deleted that new FAQ. Does that show you how non-binding these Q&As are? So now, the situation with loaning in NFA firearms are, I guess, back to normal? Maybe? Let's hope anyone at the shooting range with an ATF agent this weekend doesn't get picked up for letting their friends shoot their cool new suppressed pew-pews. The bottom line here is that the ATF rule has a major flaw, and that flaw could affect gun owners in a major way. And ATF may be trying to clarify that one of its Q&A answers addresses this fully and that gun owners should just comply and register their guns, but the reality is, it's a lot more gray. We're out there defending gun owners, and the best thing that we can all hope for is that GOA's or another lawsuit gets an injunction before the 120-day grace period is up, so that no one has to register a thing. But in the meantime, do you trust the ATF not to mess this up? Remember that as recently as 2012, federal prosecutors dropped 40% of ATF's cases because there was a lack of criminal intent. In other words, The ATF wanted to prosecute gun owners for committing technical violations. This is why GOA is intent on abolishing the ATF from existence, one step at a time. But as it currently stands, we as gun owners need to fight back against this insane pistol brace rule. GOA is ready to do so, but we need your help. So use the link in the description and reach out to your congressman and demand that they place the ATF's pistol brace rule under Congressional Review Act. They need to vote on a joint resolution of disapproval to block this rule. And this does have a chance of at least passing both the House and the Senate and going to the president's desk. They also need to vote on the SHORT Act, or the Stop Harassing Owners of Rifles Today Act, to remove SBRs, SBSs, and AOWs from federal gun regulation, registration, and taxation. The Biden pistol ban is the last straw for the NFA, and it has got to go. Now, if that doesn't work, tell your congressman to defund the ATF. Did you know that it's grown 24% bigger since President Biden took office? Republicans in the House are hungry for spending cuts. Take whatever you want from the ATF's budget. Heck, take the whole thing. Of course, we'll be fighting them in the courts, but as you know, lawsuits are expensive and take time. So we encourage you, if you haven't already, to become a member and help fight this tyrannical overreach by the ATF. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.